All right, cool. So my name is Mauvis. I'm the CTO of a company called CoinMarketCap. Who here uses CoinMarketCap? Yes? Awesome. And not many people know we released a new API last year. We've had an API before that. It was only like 3 different forms of data, and it was only latest data. Last year, when we launched the new APIs, we call them the Pro APIs, and they help. The way I explain it is, people come to the website to see the data. Well, when people need applications to talk to our site, they need an API, and that's what this is for. And so we launched this last year, and part of why I'm coming out here is to actually teach people about the API, what it can do, but also to understand the fundamental building blocks of a basic portfolio tracking application, because that's what a lot of people actually use with our APIs. And it's pretty easy to do. We actually open sourced a very basic version for people to play around with. And then third step is we're going to run that example project. So again, I mentioned that CoinMarketCap launched the Pro APIs for developers last year. A lot of newspapers and magazines, when they wrote about it, they called it the paid APIs. And that's the kind of a misnomer that we're trying also to clear up, in that there's a free API tier that can do most of what the average person would want to do without even paying a single dollar. And that's actually what we're using today in these examples, is our free APIs. So what are the CMC APIs? Well, they're right here. There are 18 endpoints that allow you to slice and dice cryptocurrency and exchange data in virtually every single way. And we have this data all the way back to 2013. Back then, we were storing data at a 5-minute interval. And in the last year and a half, we started doing 1-minute snapshots. And so what CoinMarketCap does, for the few of you that don't know, is we're a data aggregation company that aggregates the cryptocurrency prices from all around the world. Currently, there's about 250 exchanges around the world that every single minute we go and get the current buy-sell price, and we calculate the volume-weighted price. So when you hear that Bitcoin hit $13,000 today or something, usually that's because people are looking at via our website. And there are other qualities that we are actually starting to focus on outside of volume for calculating these prices, which we're really excited to introduce later on this year. Our APIs have been made quite a splash. They're used by everyone from Coinbase to Opera to the Bank of Canada. And a couple months ago, we actually launched the new Android and iPhone applications powered by our own APIs. So what's really cool is you can actually use our own APIs to build CoinMarketCap.com, because we provide nearly all the same data that you see. And I'm going to actually show you a little bit of a one-to-one, a web page on CoinMarketCap versus what our APIs would look like. And this is the actual sample application that we're going to be showing you how to build today. And the basic premise is this. We set a service to download the price of Bitcoin. You hold how much Bitcoin you have, and then over the course of time, you can see that charted on your local computer. So there's 3 major steps to building an application like this, even a most basic one. And what's cool is even the most complicated, like Blockfolio or any other portfolio application, has these 3 components that really make it what it is. And the first is some kind of cron service that is able to pull the data from a third-party service like CoinMarketCap every 5 minutes or 1 minute or whatever interval you're interested in. And it's important for you to be able to save that data. In our demo project, we're saving that to your local hard drive as a CSV file. So every 1 minute, it's just adding another CSV there. And what's really important is for you not to do the price calculations of how much worth of Bitcoin you have and store that in the CSV, because you want to be able to retroactively change it in the future. So if you don't have the original values from the source, then you're able to say, maybe I had more Bitcoin or less Bitcoin, and you can't change your historical numbers, right? The second thing you need is a web server to run the web page, obviously, and then maybe one API so that your charting software can actually talk to your backend, right? And then the third is just a basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript page, which you see right here. So I'm going to be sharing that GitHub page, and then we're going to go into the actual components of that stuff. But before you do that, you need to get an API key. If you go to coinmarketcap.com/API, you click the blue button, and you're able to get a free API key or any of the other more paid plans for if you want more granular data. Say you want the price of all 2,200 cryptocurrencies we support every single minute. Well, you probably need a higher rate plan. If you just have 5 or 10 cryptocurrencies you're interested in, the free plan is probably good enough for you. Another place that people can experiment with is called the CoinMarketCap Sandbox. What's really cool about the CoinMarketCap Sandbox is it allows you to get a Sandbox API key, which allows you full access to all payment plans. So you can truly see all 18 endpoints and experiment to your heart's content. The only catch with the Sandbox is it's only holding 2 weeks worth of snapshot data. So you can go down to the market pair level of an exchange or anything like that, but the data's not going to change because it's just for experimentation. So if you want to play around with live data, we suggest going to just CoinMarketCap.com API and then getting a free API key. If you want to experiment with the full offerings, then go to the Sandbox and you can get an API key there. It's the same thing. The other really cool application that we recently released is called the Sandbox Playground. And I'm going to be actually showing you this a lot because it's the thing that allows you to interactively experiment with our APIs without a single line of code. It's all clicking and changing numbers and pressing enter. And this is actually what I'm going to be using a lot today to show you those 18 endpoints. By the end of this, you should have a pretty good overview of what our APIs look like and how to use them. And then for those that want to start sooner, if you want to just run the sample app because you already know some coding, you can go to GitHub, github.com/coinmarketcap/cmc-api-workshop. And that's the full demo available today that we're going to be going over. The other thing I wanted to note is we have amazing documentation. People give us a lot of compliments on our thorough documentation. And if you go to coinmarketcap.com/API, the same place that you sign up for an API key, click that API documentation button, and you'll be taken to a page that really goes into detail of how to use all the APIs, the sample responses, as well as sample code in Node, Python, PHP, Java, C#, and even Go. The rest of this presentation is going to be a lot more hands-on, so let's get started. So the very first thing I wanted to show you is the Sandbox Playground, which I'm right here. And you can see here that it actually gives you data between 6/26 and 7/11, which is today. So the last 2 weeks of data. We just literally updated this yesterday. And I'm going to just close this. So you can see all our 18 endpoints here. And as a great example, I'm going to go to the main CoinMarketCap site. And you can see basically the prices of all the top cryptocurrencies sorted by market cap. And you can see the price, the 24-hour change, etc. So if I were to go to our APIs here, and I go to cryptocurrency listings latest right here, this is essentially what you see on our home page. If I click this latest button, you can see on the right side that it's going to load all the prices starting with Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, etc. Same thing you see on the site, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP. And you're going to see a lot more details, including the number of market pairs of all the exchanges we're averaging the price from, the day that we added it, the max supply, circulating supply, etc. What's also cool is the default value that you see is in USD here, but you can actually use the convert parameter and say you want to convert it to, say, Singapore dollars. Now you can see the prices of everything in Singapore dollars. We support about 150 different fiat currencies. We support precious metals like gold, all kinds of stuff that you can do dynamically here, which is pretty awesome. You can even do multiple prices. Say I want Singapore dollars, USD, and Euro. So now you're actually getting the prices of every cryptocurrency in those 3 prices, and it's pretty fast. So the other thing to note here is this is what an example API call looks like above here. Of course, what the Sandbox is doing is it is preloaded with certain API keys that it's sending to the backend, which you don't see in the URL, but the URL would actually have CMC, API key, parameter, which you would need to generate. Um, the other thing to note here is these status objects right here are really interesting. This is the time of the server when you made the request in UTC. And so you can really know if the performance is slow, you can tell whether it's us or whether it's you, because this is the timestamp when we got your request. The elapsed time is how long it took us to process your request. So this request here, cryptocurrency listings latest, converted to these three convert options, we did that in 15 milliseconds. And so we gave that to you. So if it's going to take you 30 seconds to download, then you can automatically know that it's probably your internet connection. The other thing that we'd like to tell you about is the concept of credits. This call that I just made here costs 3 API credits. And if we actually look at the actual plan page, you'll be able to see how many credits that you get each month. So the free plan is going to give you 10,000 call credits a month. The hobbyist, which is only $29 a month, is 40,000 calls, and so on and so on. So you're able to kind of plot out, like say if I want the price of Bitcoin every 5 minutes, you can calculate how many credits that would probably cost you per month. And the way we do that is we charge 1 credit per every 100 data points collected. So when you call cryptocurrency listings latest, that is only 1 API call. And then as you add more convert parameters, we charge 1 credit per extra convert that you're adding here. That's why we default charge you 1 credit for up to 100 data points, and then the extra 2 costs you those additional 3 credits here. So that's the way that we kind of format those. So if you actually click over here at Bitcoin, you can actually see all the various markets that we use to come up with the price of Bitcoin, and by volume, right? And the percent of volume. So we can do the same thing in our APIs. If I go back to the sandbox, and we'll go to cryptocurrencies market pair latest, and I'm going to say symbol equals BTC. And this is going to give me every single market pair for that page in USD. And I can, again, convert that to any value. But you can see it's the same thing as what you see here. And if you're interested in pulling prices from a specific exchange only, like Binance, then you can use this API, exchange quotes historical or exchange quotes latest, which is right. Exchange. Yeah, exchange market pairs latest right here. And you can pull all the markets. So you can see the API is pretty easy to understand. Either you're querying something about a cryptocurrency, or you're querying something about an exchange. One other really interesting thing that really differentiates us from any kind of competitor is our use of something called the CMC ID. Not many people realize this, but the cryptocurrency symbol like BTC or ETH is not actually universal. It really depends on what the exchange supports. Of course, BTC is generally always, Bitcoin for all exchanges, but for example, BAT token, BAT, there's actually 4 different cryptocurrencies that are still alive today under the BAT token, right? So that's why, generally speaking, it's not good to get quotes. Like, if I wanted the current price of Bitcoin, instead of using cryptocurrencies listings latest, which is the listings of all our top, homepage, I can here specify just BTC. But we support just because that's what people are used to, but we don't recommend it. If you actually look at cryptocurrencies map, this is a list of all the cryptocurrencies that we support on the site, along with the actual CMC ID. So Bitcoin is CMC ID 1. If I want to look up 1027, for example, that's Ethereum, right? So you get kind of used to what those CMC IDs is. And when we add a new cryptocurrency to the CoinMarketCap.com site, we assign it a CMC ID that never changes. This is really great because if you're creating some kind of portfolio application and a cryptocurrency goes through a rebranding, they change their name or they change their symbol, If you use our map command to find out what the CMC ID is, then you'll never have to worry about the symbol name change or anything like that. But for people that are just using the main cryptocurrencies that probably will never change or not interested in using the map command, we still support the symbol method. And what we do is every 10 seconds, we recalculate which cryptocurrencies have the top market cap for that particular symbol. And that way, BTC will always be Bitcoin, unless, of course, something massive changes, and Ethereum will be or ETH, etc. But that's just something that is good to know because one of our competitors just changed about 120 different cryptocurrencies and let people know weeks ahead of time that this will break your code on this day if you don't remap. And that's something that we really were careful to think about. The other thing is as we provide more third-party views into our data, like we recently created this FCAS system for grades. FCAS automatically used CMC ID natively, so it was very easy to integrate with them because they've kind of standardized on the whole CMC ID concept. The other thing that is good to know is the concept of API bundling. So for our portfolio application, we're just querying for the price of Bitcoin, and we can use cryptocurrencies quotes latest, and over here we can say, give me the current price of Bitcoin. So I'm going to say, just so it's easy to understand, give me the price of BTC. And I'm going to automatically get that price in USD here, right? And I'm going to be making this call every 1 minute because I want to get this particular price every single minute, and I want to save it to my computer or my server. But notice here that it cost me 1 credit to make this API call. And say with the portfolio that I'm building, maybe I want to start supporting multiple cryptocurrencies. Well, you can easily call this multiple times with different coins. It's better actually to bundle all your requests into one. Say I want BTC, ETH, and Litecoin. Note here that now I'm getting the values for ETH and LTC. All right. So notice here that you can select up to 100 different cryptocurrencies here, and we only charge you 1 credit per 100. So a lot of times people will tell us, your API plan, it doesn't give me enough credits to call all the cryptocurrencies that I want. Well, with concepts like API bundling, it really saves us requests, because requests, you make a request to us, we process it, we send it back to you. That's a waste of our processing and bandwidth if you're machine gunning us with hundreds of calls every minute. That's why we support this concept called API bundling. That way you tell us everything you need this minute and we give it all to you back. And even if you wanted all 2,200 cryptocurrencies, that's going to cost you about 22 credits instead of 2,200 credits, right? So that's one really great tip if you wanted to really get your money's worth when you use the CMC API, whether the free version or the hobbyist or any of the other ones. And the same thing goes to when you use the convert parameter. The convert parameter, it's defaulting to USD, but say you want the price in euro and you want the price in Bitcoin, right? So that's only going to cost you 1 extra credit because we give you 1 convert for 1 credit for free, and then the extra is 2. So notice that it only costs you 2 credits here. And so don't call us multiple times with different convert parameters because that's just costing you more credits, right? And so what's really interesting is to be able to see the price of all cryptocurrencies in Bitcoin, it's kind of interesting to see the different growth and shrinkage of the altcoins versus Bitcoin. So you can see here that Bitcoin converted to Bitcoin is always just 1 Bitcoin. So it's, whereas in euros it's this much. Ethereum, you can see the price of Bitcoin is 0.02 is 1 ETH. So let's actually start, now that we know a little bit about the actual APIs here, let's look at the actual application that we have built for you. And so if you look at this application, and I'm just going to show you the GitHub page right here. Let me refresh. So it's a pretty straightforward application. Basically, we've broken it down into steps but I'm already going to show you the pre-built version. And the pre-built version just really, it has two components here. You have your web server. So this is all written in Node. And when you launch the web server, it's going to host the HTML, CSS page and a small API. And then you have the cron service. The cron is literally just a 1-minute timer that downloads the latest price of Bitcoin from us, and then it saves it to the CSV file, right? So the web server, it will load what's in the CSV. So let me show you what that looks like. So here's the actual application. I'm going to refresh it. So you can see that I've been running this in my terminal here. And you can see that the cron.js script is right here. On the right side, I just have the example CSV file. So the cron service is up here. I have an API key. This one will probably be, it's just a free one that I downloaded, but everyone's going to use it, and then it's going to run out of credits. So I wouldn't even try. And then here you can see where I'm making an AJAX call to the cryptocurrency quotes latest symbol BTC, catching any errors, because that's important if something were to happen, to know what happened. And then what I do is I use the CSV writer node library to write the price of Bitcoin and the current date into the CSV file. So you can see the CSV file here. And what's cool is you can load the CSV file in Google Sheets, in Excel. It's really reusable for anything you want. And then note here, though, that even though I have, say, 3.4 BTC in my portfolio, that I'm not saving that data here. And as I mentioned before, it's very important to save the raw data so that you can do more than one project with it. You can do all kinds of stuff. If you automatically do the math here to multiply 3.4 times the price of Bitcoin and then save it to CSV, then all you have is your current price of Bitcoin over time, and you can't use this data for other things. Of course, if you have a higher level plan at CMC, you can query our historical data to your heart's content anyway. But for people who just want access to that data, they can run that cron script. And you can see every 1 minute, I run fetch crypto, and fetch crypto is up here, and it just saves it to this guy right here. So as I'm refreshing the page, you can see the price changes here. And I can actually change this. Say I have 10 Bitcoin, and I hit enter. This is going to change this. So say I have 7.895 Bitcoin. So you can see the price changing over time. And let's actually take a look at the web server code for this. So the web server code, which I'll make a little bit bigger, we're using a node framework called Happy. Happy is really great for just making an API, right? And we actually do need an API because if you actually look at the inspector here and you see what kind of requests are being made as I refresh, you can see that we're actually making a request for chart.json, and chart.json returns all these data points that were being used here. And also note that if I were to open up, say, this CSV file, and I was running it a little bit yesterday and today, but let's get rid of half of these data points and save it. And then let's reload this. So you can see this is a lot more uniform because this is probably only the last, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes or so. So you can kind of see, this is kind of cool. And if I actually look inside of the Happy library here, I have a couple different routes set. So the first route is literally just the /, which means the main page here, right? And for the main page, I wanted to load website CSS, the charting JavaScript, and then the API JSON here. And notice that if you make a request for API JSON, this is what it looks like. It's literally that CSV file that I downloaded with Node and transformed it from CSV to JSON. And you can see here that I just create the read stream from the file, and then I pipe it to an array, and then I return it inside of the API. So the web server is pretty basic. It just has the main path here for the HTML page, some CSS, some JavaScript, and then a very small API here just for downloading and converting that CSV to JSON. And if I refresh it, oh, I think I stopped running the server.
And once again, we're honored to have members
Oh,
of
3,000.
the Barcelona government to be
There you
part
go.
of our session.
And so you can see the latest
We're about to get started in
time
less
point
than
here is at 4:07.
blockchain
And
excellence.
I'm going to change this to 1 BTC just so you can see the current price of Bitcoin is 11,692. And you can see every single minute that's passing, I'm downloading the price of Bitcoin here. And I do that via running
We'll be having sessions.
the cron script.
We'll be having
So
videos featuring
you wouldn't want to run this cron script on your own computer unless your computer is always on. You would probably want to get a web server somewhere and download this Git script and then run that script from that way.
competition and regulation for the
But as I run it, that's when it starts downloading.
future of Austria blockchain ecosystem. Please join us now in the
So I'm going to stop at this point for any questions
with the last session of
after she's done talking.
Thank you so much. And remember, the doors are closing at 5 p.m. So please make sure to get all of your things ready so that you are able to go once the session is over. Thank you so much.
Cool, guys. So any questions so far? Nope. Sweet. What I highly recommend, even if you're not a coder, is to check out the Sandbox Playground. Because the Sandbox Playground really kind of demonstrates all the capabilities. The other really cool thing about the Sandbox Playground is this tools price conversion. You can literally convert any cryptocurrency in any amount to any other fiat or any other cryptocurrency. And that is also included in our free plan. So this is incredibly useful if you need to do your taxes or anything like that. Like, say I want to convert, I want to convert symbol equals BTC, and I want to convert that to LTC, and I have 50 of them. So amount equals 50. So 50 Bitcoin equals 5,653 Litecoin, you can see here. And the other cool thing is you can specify a time parameter in the past. And that's where it's really good to do any kind of crypto taxes is like, 8 weeks ago I traded 24 Litecoin and converted down to Bitcoin. What was the value of it on this specific moment in time? So super useful tool. And this used to be on the higher paid plan tier, but we recently made it as part of the free tier, just because we like to give more. The other thing to note is that our API, we do releases every 2 to 4 weeks. And so there's always more cool stuff. The last time I gave this presentation in Singapore, we had 17 API endpoints. And now we have 18. So we're gonna always be finding ways and listening to people in terms of what they want to see in the API. And we know it's always going to be more data, more granular data, live data. We got a lot of cool stuff. Access to actual blockchain level data. All of it is either in there or going to be in there. And we put them in there in terms of what we hear people want first. So this is an example of the version history on the API documentation of all the new stuff that's coming out every couple of weeks, which is pretty nice. And they're always non-breaking changes, which is so important. When you build a beautiful application and we release some new code, we focus very much on making sure that all existing implementations never break. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope that you've learned a thing about the CoinMarketCap API. I hope you learned a little bit about what it takes to build a portfolio visualization. Feel free to check out our blog at blog.coinmarketcap.com. We're always coming out with interesting posts. The other thing is we have a Telegram bot. It's interactive. It gives you the crypto news every single day interactively, which is pretty nice. We also have a daily newsletter that gives you the daily dose of crypto news. So reach out to us. We're on Twitter, on Telegram, on everything as CoinMarketCap. Thanks, guys.